Episode 1 of Dragon Ball Daima dropped on Friday, and we have a lot of things to cover. In only one episode, we've had a ton of big reveals. I won't be reviewing the episode here too much, but I will say that it was very enjoyable. The animation was phenomenal, and the direction was just as great. The extended part of the episode with the reanimated Buu Saga parts was a very nice bonus too, but let's talk about all the new info we have, especially in regards to Dragon Ball's lore. With this much revealed in one episode, there is a ton of potential for even more to change going forward. So first off, the biggest question: when does Daima take place? Well, we already have a pretty solid answer. It's after the Buu Saga, specifically around a year after it ended. This is evidenced by Trunks' 9th birthday being celebrated. Trunks was born about half a year before the androids arrived, and after the androids arrived there was a time skip of around 7 years to the Buu Saga. This means that Trunks is at least 7.5 years old in the Buu Saga, which would mean Daima takes place around 12 to 18 months after Kid Buu's defeat, probably on the lower end of that. Also, the Dragon Balls on Earth were recently used, which could be referring to the wish made 6 months after Buu's defeat, meant to erase everyone's memory of Buu. So pretty easily that tells us this is around a year after the Buu Saga. So what about where it falls in terms of Super's timeline? Because now a lot of people are asking if it's even canon or not. Kibito Kai being defused doesn't line up with Dragon Ball Super, and that's why there's a lot of questions. The answer is, we don't know yet. I personally have always thought canon discussions were pointless because Dragon Ball very clearly is loose with its canon anyways, and it has many different continuities that it likes to focus on. Like, come on, we have 3 different versions of Battle of Gods and 2 different continuities of Super that are being focused on. But for the sake of having an answer, we simply don't know where the series stands until it ends, at least in relation to Dragon Ball Super. The Kibito Kai decision might be reversed somehow. We don't know, and at the end of the day, that's such a tiny change. Kibito Kai being fused or not wouldn't affect Battle of Gods at all, or anything after for that matter, considering how small his role was anyways. This is a Toriyama project after all, and so far the only contradiction for Super is Kibito Kai. Toriyama's involvement is way more important than Kibito Kai. And at the same time, there's a new piece of lore that actually aligns with the Granola arc, which I'll cover later on in this video. So there's a few outcomes here. 1. It's a side story that doesn't apply to Dragon Ball Super. 2. It does apply to Dragon Ball Super, and it just retcons when Kibito Kai defuses, which isn't really a big issue. And 3. It applies to Dragon Ball Super, and Kibito Kai will merge later on somehow. But again, in relation to Super, it's still far too early to say where Daima falls. And more importantly, I think we've kind of grown past the point of focusing on canon and plot holes, contradictions, or whatever. Especially because Daima has given us so much more already, and it's way more interesting to cover that than whether it's canon or not. Especially because everyone's probably going to have their own opinions on that. Daima has already hugely changed Dragon Ball lore, and it's given us some small pieces of info that are pretty cool, as well as some pretty huge changes too. So going forward, when I make these videos about Daima, I won't necessarily be reviewing the episode, and I'm not just going to give you a summary of it either. I mean, you've watched it. At least, I hope you have. So for this video and the future ones, I'm more focused on the technical aspects of the story. I'm here to explain things that might be a little bit confusing, explain info and how it relates to other info we received before, and maybe even giving some of my opinions and theories about what could happen going forward. Just so you guys get the gist of what type of video this is. Anyways, first off, the biggest thing that Dragon Ball Daima is showing us right now is the Demon Realm. We're learning way more about that because we knew barely anything about it before, at least in regards to the original manga. Of course, the Demon Realm has been explored a lot in video games, but this is the first time we're actually seeing it in a mainline animation setting, as in something that's not a promotional anime and something that actually has Toriyama's involvement. So one reveal you might have missed in the episode is that we found out who Deborah's father is, which is kind of a weird thing, but also kind of funny. His name was Abra, and he was one of the previous rulers of the Demon Realm. And in case the pun wasn't obvious, both of their names come from Abracadabra, so Abra is Abra, and Deborah or Dabra, that's the Dabra part. Similar to Bibbidi Bobbidi and Boo. Which also makes me wonder what his name will be in English, because in the dub version he's called Deborah, but really the correct pronunciation of his name is Dabra. I'm kind of going on a tangent here, in case you couldn't tell this video is really unscripted, but it makes me wonder how the dub will handle that. Anyways, we don't just learn about his heritage, we also learn about Shin's, because apparently Shin has a brother and a sister. Degasu, who seems to be a big focus, is his younger brother. His role is Makaio Shin, aka the Demon Supreme Kai. And like I mentioned before, we have explored the Demon Realm in the video games a bit, and we've seen Makaio Shin before too, like Mekikambura. There's also Dr. Arinsu, who is Shin's sister. Then we have Goma, who we don't really know too much about yet, but he's the new king of the Demon Realm after Deborah died. But the biggest reveal about people from the Demon Realm is the fact that Namekians are from the Demon Realm. Now, this isn't exactly completely new information. Back in the Granola arc, we actually were told that Namekians were from a completely different realm entirely. It wasn't confirmed to be the Demon Realm, but we knew that Namekians weren't originally from the regular universe. That's also why they're scattered among so many planets and why they have access to this type of magic. So every Namekian in the series is related to the Demon Realm, which also has really interesting implications regarding Piccolo and King Piccolo, because back in the original version of Dragon Ball, King Piccolo was considered a demon and so was Piccolo. Later on they were found out to be aliens, which seemed to kind of retcon the whole thing about him being a demon, although that's not exactly true anymore. Now both things are true. Piccolo and King Piccolo are both aliens, but they're also both demons. This applies to every other Namekian as well. Kami, of course, because King Piccolo and Kami are from the same Namekian, Dende, Mori, Guru, Manaido, everyone. And this is a really crazy revelation because, obviously, one of the main members of our cast is Piccolo, a Namekian. And while this of course doesn't apply to Daima, in Dragon Ball Super he just got his Orange form, which is completely different from anything we've seen from him before. So that could have some pretty big implications for what that form is. Of course, it's a Namekian form, and we still don't really know too much about it, but it makes me wonder how the demonic nature of him comes into play here. We also got introduced to a new Namekian named Neva, who looks really similar to Manaido, like it looks like the exact same design almost, which is kind of funny. But also he's pretty powerful too, because theoretically he could just spam infinite wishes from Dragon Balls if he wants, because he went to Earth to get their Dragon Balls, and like I mentioned earlier in the video, they already had been used recently, so they were turned into stone. But when he gets his hands on them, he makes them usable again and then summons Shenron. He could bypass the limits of Dragon Balls. And also worth noting, he's from the Demon Realm, and not like other Namekians where they're kind of distantly related to the Demon Realm. No, he literally lives in the Demon Realm and is from there. So I'd definitely say keep an eye on him too, because he's clearly going to have some sort of importance here, especially with all the new things we're learning about Namekians too. But another strange reveal we got was in regards to people's ears. Apparently having pointy ears means your origins are from the Demon Realm, at least in some cases. I saw a lot of people interpreting this as anyone with pointy ears is from the Demon Realm, which is a really slippery slope too, because, like, for example, that would mean great apes are from the Demon Realm because they have pointy ears. That would include Dodoria, that would include Monaka. Like, there are so many characters that this could apply to that doesn't necessarily mean they are from the Demon Realm. So I think it's kind of a misinterpretation here. Pointy ears shouldn't be a be-all end-all and mean you're by default from the Demon Realm. Although there are a few characters it could apply to, like Moro for example has pointy ears, although he is a goat, so it could easily just be because of that. And then some non-canon characters like Garlic Jr. or Janemba, which would actually fit pretty well, that could make sense, or even Pilaf, he has pointy ears. Now, one implication we do get is that Mr. Popo is from the Demon Realm because, well, he's in a scene where this is directly mentioned and Dende looks at him. We don't know for sure, but that would at least make a lot of sense. But I think there's a big misinterpretation here that everyone with pointy ears is from the Demon Realm. No, that's just kind of a telltale sign, but doesn't exactly mean they're going to be from there by default. Who knows though, maybe I'm wrong, maybe later on we'll find out that great apes are actually from the Demon Realm and so is Dodoria. Jokes aside though, still definitely worth mentioning. Also, the group of villains we're focusing on is looking for something called the Evil Third Eye, which we have no info on yet, and this could be so many different things, but at the very least what we do know right now is it will be something important. Maybe Tien fans like me can cope and think it'll mean something involving him. But no, I guess we'll see what that means later on. One final thing I want to cover involves Batara earrings. So when I mentioned Kibito Kai defused, he actually defused by going inside of Buu. Now in the original manga, we were told Vegito defused by going into Buu because of the bad air inside of him. And of course, later on in Dragon Ball Super, we learned more info about Batara earrings. Apparently, fusion is permanent when it's between two Supreme Kai, but for mortals, it just lasts for an hour, and it can be run out if you use too much power. So initially when this was revealed in Dragon Ball Super, everyone was talking about how this was a big retcon. And now that we have this reveal that Buu can actually defuse people, people are saying, oh, this is a retcon too. But what if I told you that's not the case? Neither of these are retcons now. Both things can be true at once. These aren't retcons, these are just additional pieces of info that tell us more about the Batara earrings. Because these two things don't contradict each other. Batara fusion can still be temporary for mortals and permanent for Kais, while also having the ability to be reversed by Buu, or Dragon Balls for that matter. So far, Daima has introduced so many different things that are really going to change Dragon Ball going forward. Not just for Daima, but the entire series as a whole. It'll be really interesting to see what other lore additions we get and how these specific additions to the lore will affect Daima. There is clearly a lot being set up here, and the world of Dragon Ball is about to change a lot from Daima. We're probably only just scratching the surface right now. Let me know what you think below. How would you enjoy Daima's first episode? What do you think is going to happen going forward with everything revealed? Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.